Welcome to Witch Talks, the series for spiritual seekers, witches, and enlightened souls. I'm Hana the Suburban Witch, professional tarot reader, astrologer, and witch, and I hope you're ready to get up close and personal with your favourite witches. Hello. So wonderful to have you here with me today. I'm excited. Are you excited? You should be excited, because if you do any form of divination, specifically cartomancy, so tarot and oracle, but any form, this is the episode that you want to listen to. We are answering another Hana, help me question for the podcast. If you have a question that you want me to answer for you, simply send it to me. My email address is info@suburbanwitchery.com. Nice and easy. Always linked in the description as well, in case you forget. So today's question comes in from Laura McVie. And Laura asks, Hana, help me. How do you track the accuracy and feedback for tarot and oracle cards? Is it different for predictive reads versus general reads? Thanks, Laura. Well, Laura, my dear, I'm very glad you asked this because I have a lot to say on the matter. Firstly, though, thank you so much for asking about tracking the accuracy, because that is a huge thing that I think a lot of people completely miss when they learn how to read tarot and oracle cards. People get so focused on, but what does it mean, Basil? What does it actually mean? What does the guidebook say? And we get so obsessed with getting it right by the meaning in the book that we forget that we can get it right outside of that, or wrong from what the book says, and still get it right in the long term. But you will never know that if you are not tracking your accuracy. So as I said at the start, this episode will work for any form of divination, because any form of divination that you're doing, you should be tracking. When I first started, my very first type of divination that I dipped my toes into was tasseomancy, which is tea leaf reading. Now, tea leaf reading I find so much fun. So much fun. But this is before I was even in the witchy sphere at all. This was my entry-level beginner stuff. And the very first thing I did was create myself a tasseomancy journal. I still have that because it was really cool, because I accidentally predicted a few cool things, and I didn't know that until I looked back. So what I was doing, even way back then, years and years ago, like 10 years ago, I would make a prediction, or I would do a reading, and I would write it down and I would date it. And I would usually draw what the cup looked like, or what I was seeing, and why I said the things I said. And I just did that just to kind of, keep track, keep a record, so I didn't forget. I don't know. I'm a Virgo. I like doing that sort of stuff. I love notebooks and I use them. But thankfully, one day I picked it up and was like, I'm just going to have a little read through. And lo and behold, I was like, oh shit. Oh my gosh. Look at all the cool stuff in here that came true. If I hadn't have written it down, I would have freaking forgot. Who's going to remember that? Certainly not me. And there were things that I hadn't specifically said. I didn't say, this will happen. But when I looked at the little picture of the cup that I'd drawn, it was still in there. I just didn't know that then. And by looking back and looking at that little picture, well, guess what? I learned a new thing. So when I see that little image again in a cup, I know what it's going to mean, because I have the almost historical data to back it up. I have the experiences based in what happened after those cups to back it up. And that's just with tasseomancy. Cartomancy, you basically do the same thing. There are tarot journals and oracle journals out there for a reason, so that we can track these things. Now, I write down most of my bigger personal readings for myself. And I'm so freaking grateful that I do. I usually write down the time and the date that I'm doing it, the cards that came up, the questions I asked, and what I think they mean. And I always leave a little bit of space to go back later and write in a different colored pen what actually happened. Now, if you take my psychic divination course, or even I think in my tarot class I mention it, a professional psychic, medium, astrologer, tarot reader, etc., the accuracy rate is 80%. 80% accuracy, okay? That is a good rate to live by. Some are a little bit higher, but 80% is like professional accuracy level. If you are on the pathway and you're like, you know what, I think I could do this professionally, I'd like to open my own spiritual business, yada, 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 but you don't know your accuracy level, take a few steps back. You need to check that first. All right? In saying that, if you're only getting like 50% accuracy, you're still doing great. You're doing amazing, right? That's great if you're learning and doing it for yourself, maybe for some friends and not charging for it. That's actually really good. And then it'll increase to 60 and then 70% and then 80%. Before you know it, you'll be like, hell yeah, I'm as good as the pros. So my number one tip for you is to write it down with a date and a time. You might have a specific spiral notebook for that. You might have purchased a fancy tarot reading thing for that. Whatever it is, wherever you put it, Book of Shadows, digital, there are spreadsheets, you can put it online, you can put it in a Notion doc. It really doesn't matter. You can film it. Kind of hard to like go back and reflect on though, because you have to watch all those videos. But you can do whatever works for you. Voice note it, but keep a record. Because I'm telling you, when you think you're going to remember, that's a lie. You're not going to remember. You're going to forget. So keep a record. Now, Laura has also asked if it's different for predictive readings versus general readings. And I would say yes. Now, a predictive reading is when you say this is going to happen in the future, okay? And then usually if you're predicting, say, like within the year ahead, you can pretty accurately, if you've dated that, every year have a little flick back of, oh, did the thing come true? Did what I say come true? You can check your accuracy with that pretty easily. With general readings, though, now general readings sometimes are talking about things like past, present, and future. Now, at the moment, I'm just mainly talking about personal readings for ourselves. Okay, I haven't even dipped into other people, just for ourselves. So let's say I do a general reading for myself and I'm doing a past, present, future. Well, obviously I can tell immediately if the past one is accurate, right? And the present one is accurate. And then the future one becomes the predictive. So you just keep it the same way you just probably would do it on the spot for that general one. Generally, with general reads, I'm going to say general a lot, it's about a vibe. Like, does that resonate? Okay, so it's less about like, was that accurate? Did that thing happen? And more so, did that resonate? Did that feel relevant? If not, then it's a no. If yes, then it's a yes, right? So with yourself, it's a little bit easier in the general reads to figure out whether something works for you or not. When we start talking about other people, though, and once you start expanding your readings outwards from you, this is where it gets a little harder to track, okay? People don't always come back and tell you. So if you read for a friend who's a good friend of yours, you can ask like, hey, can I like write down or record this reading that I'm giving you and check in with you in a couple of months and see how it went. And they might say yes or no, and then you use that information accordingly. You can check in whilst you're reading for someone, hey, is this resonating for you? Does this make sense to you? They will usually be like, I don't know. Or, maybe later it will. If they're saying that sort of stuff, they're just trying to be nice and it's not resonating. And you can be like, sweet, maybe it's not clicking right now for whatever reason. We can either stop or we can just keep going. What do you want to do? But usually they'll very much tell you if it is like, oh my God, how did you know that? Or, wow, I didn't think you said that word for word. Or like, oh my goodness, look at it. You know there's a different vibe from the person that you're reading for when it is resonating versus when it's not. So I can't remember if I've mentioned it on here before, but I'm pretty sure I did in my tarot class. If you haven't taken my tarot class, definitely check it out. It is up on my website pretty much permanently. And the tarot class also gets you access to my tarot Facebook group, which is important for this aspect because when I was starting, I joined a bunch of tarot Facebook groups and I would literally go into them and say, hey, I'm going to do readings for the first 10 people who comment on this post. And I would do that. There was a point where I was doing 5 to 10 readings per day for free in exchange for feedback. Then I would go live in these Facebook groups. You had to get like certain approvals. I've been in there for a while. The admins knew who you were. And I would go live and offer live readings just to really up my skill level. And I did this for freaking months. It was kind of exhausting, but I was hungry. I was hungry to perfect this thing, this skill that I was learning. I was obsessed. I was literally obsessed. I'm still tarot obsessed and oracle obsessed and all of that. So this was specifically tarot readings that I was doing. But it was also helpful because sometimes I would say, hey, that one specific thing that you touched on, that really blew me away. And that's helpful for me as a reader because then I was like, oh, that one very specific thing that I said didn't come from the cards. That came from my psychic intuition. Or perhaps it did come from the cards, but it was something I was like, oh, do I say that? Maybe I don't. So it gets you familiar with the feelings to trust and not to trust. And this is why feedback is so freaking important for developing your cartomancy skills or your divination skills. Then once I felt like I was getting, positive feedback for freaking everything, every single one was like, oh my God, that's amazing. I was like, okay, maybe I can start charging for this. But I didn't feel fully confident doing that yet. So instead I joined a psychic reading group and I did readings with them, which meant that they were really affordable for other people. And it was sort of organized by someone else. I didn't have to market myself or anything. I just got assigned people to do readings for. And I didn't earn a ton doing that, but I started to get some of that energy exchange coming back. That was also really good. And people could leave feedback or reviews. So that's where in the very early days when I opened my business, a few of those frequent clients that I got from that psychic reading group were my first real clients when I opened up Suburban Witchery, and they provided my very first testimonials as well, which helped me get more clients moving forward. So if you ever take my tarot reading class, How to Read Tarot, you get access to my own personal Facebook group because Facebook has changed since I was doing that years back, and going live and stuff and giving readings that way, it's not really done anymore. And a lot of those Facebook groups, they can be you get booted out of them so easily now. There's bots, there's all sorts of stuff. AI, it is not the same. But I have my own personal private Facebook group just for students of my tarot reading class, which, by the way, just as a side note, if you're looking to do my The Art of Psychic Divination course, which is going to be opening up again to new students in November for the very very last time as a live run course. If you're looking to do that, the tarot reading class is included in that already. So you can hold on and get it all in one with that. Or if you're not interested, you're like, I don't want to do that course. I don't need that. I don't want that. But I do want the tarot class. You can buy that separately. So when you become a student of that class, you get access to this Facebook group. Currently, at the time of recording this, there's 55 people in there, I think. It's small, but it is lovely. It's a really nice energy. I do tarot reading, sort of development exercise prompts all the time, so you can sort of expand on your skills, learn new things, have tarot conversations. If you're confused with a reading, you post it up in there and people can help. If you want a reading, you can be like, hey, if anyone wants to practice on me, this is my question. Or if someone's asking that, then you can practice on them for feedback. It's a wonderful, safe space to develop. I have a belief that you can only grow so much in any form of divination doing it for yourself. You really can't grow too much. But as soon as you step out of that comfort zone and start reading for other people, getting that feedback, getting that input about their lives and how the things that you're talking about may or may not resonate, that's where you start to grow and develop exponentially, more so than anything you can do by yourself. So now that I am professional, because you don't stop learning once you go professional and you have readings out there for the public and for people to purchase and book with and all of that. Now though, I'm looking at reviews that people choose to leave, and I'm also looking at things like return bookings. But it's slightly different. If I have someone who comes to me for a reading and then they book again for the next month and then again for the next month, then I look at that as a failure. I would be like, I'm not doing my job well if they don't feel confident enough to either make a decision on their own or move forward with the advice given. Thankfully, That doesn't happen. But if it did, I'd be worried. But if I have someone who books yearly, for example, that's a really, really good sign. That's like, yes, excellent. That means they've booked me for a reading. That reading did help them, and that helped them so much that they've come back again. Okay? I look to how people feel after their readings. I did a reading yesterday, and they actually rocked up at my house today with a beautiful bunch of flowers for me just to say thank you, because they had so much clarity after our session, and it was just such a big, beautiful shift for them. They felt so good. And I'm like, that is wonderful. That is what I want my clients to feel. I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel clarity, especially when they're feeling really stuck. So this is how you start to develop, we're starting with journals, right? Journals at the start. And then we go to sort of like feedback from readings. And especially if you're not charging, or if you want to charge a really low amount in exchange for feedback, that can be a really good way to do it. And then we go to bigger gestures, reviews, looking at how frequently people are booking, looking at even just your client's development, how they're developing, because you might meet someone for the first time and they're like a shell of a human and stuck in this really negative spiral. And then a few years later, after booking, yearly or every 6 months or whatever it is, they are shining and they're their absolute beautiful, authentic self. That's a huge whoa, yes, we're working on this. We're helping. This is good. So we need to look at more than just, did I get it right or did I get it wrong, right? There's nuance here. Now, I'm recording this entire episode. There's no script. I am just free talking to you all. So I haven't taken my ADHD meds today, so I could be all over the place. I'm not really sure. I'm also looking at the clock. It's school holidays. I've got to go pick up my kid from daycare. So I'm going to end it up here. But I do want to let you guys know that I do have a tarot class that is free. If you haven't heard me talk about it before, it's called Tarot for Protection. It's a free access to a free legitimate class that I gave on using the tarot to check in with your protections, right? Your spiritual protections, mental, physical, all of that. It's a really good class. It's really useful, practical information for any witch and tarot reader or diviner out there. You could technically, if you didn't want to use the tarot, you could absolutely sub in another divination form if you wanted to. But if you're learning the tarot even, it's not a how to read tarot class. I do have one of those. It's not that. But you don't have to have a ton of tarot knowledge to go into it and still get something really useful from it and see some cool examples of how to read with the cards and other things you can do with the cards. So I highly recommend you go and check that out. The link is in the description box for this episode. Tarot for Protection class, fully free. You are welcome. That is my gift to you. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I adore you all. I love getting messages from you. I get so many messages that are like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to annoy you, so I haven't told you. But you do not annoy me. There is no annoyance there. Please, I'm a sucker for compliments. I love hearing it. I love seeing your reviews. It just truly, truly makes my day. Knowing that what I'm putting out there is helping you guys. Are you kidding me? Best feeling ever. That's why I'm a Virgo. I want to help you. Oh, and on saying that, as being a Virgo, last Sunday was my birthday. My solar return. Yay! So I'm another year older and wiser. And I have had a few people say oh, what do you want for your birthday? Honestly, I want everyone to plant a tree. If you can plant a tree, that would make me very happy. Feel free to send me photos of your tree or of a seed that you've planted. That would absolutely make my day. I would love that. Please plant a tree in my name, in my honor. That's my birthday wish for everyone. Alrighty, my dears. So we're going to wrap it up now. Next week on the podcast, I will be chatting with Sidoni of the Quirky Cup Collective, one of my favorite Aussie businesses that has a little magical twist to it. The behind the scenes episode of that is already in the portal on the Suburban Witches Society website, as is the following interview, which comes 2 weeks after that, where I chatted with Marshall, the Witch of Southern Light, all about the Red Mother. So if you want to get access to those, way before they're out for the public, behind the scenes stuff that no one else gets to hear, you want to jump on over to the Suburban Witches Society. It's an absolute hoot. You'll love it. Alrighty, guys, have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world today, and I will chat with you next week.